Hello people, and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Okay guys, back with another XRP and HBAR weekly update, so let's get you guys up to speed with what's been going on throughout the week. So we've got David Schwartz saying enterprises are going to tokenize more stocks, repos and loans on the XRP ledger. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, as we start to get into the mass adoption phase, it's just only logical that this is going to expand. Like, we're starting to see now RWAs really, taking real, like the main headlines when it comes to crypto adoption. Like, that's the big thing that's happening right now. Yeah, of course, more things are going to get tokenized, and it's not going to be just on XRP, but yeah, I do think XRP is going to get a lot more adoption. I do think that's naturally going to happen. The thing about this as well is the repos and loan markets, massive. So there's a lot of opportunity there for XRP in terms of, utility and demand if that was to happen. So obviously that is very, very promising. Okay, moving on, we then have a chart analyst who's saying that XRP is showing a similar pattern to when it recently had its 600% surge. So we had that obviously huge surge at the end of 2024, and obviously XRP went up to like $3 and something cents, right? $3 and some change. Basically, this analyst named Blacksea, he's saying that, he put the charts together and he's saying that basically it's following the same, the same pattern. So it's looking like it's going to have another surge. So yeah, look, I have done a video just about my general thoughts on the market right now. I won't get into it here because I don't want to keep this too long. My thoughts on it is this. Is it possible that it could be following the same pattern? Yeah, possibly. But the thing I will say is that things have drastically changed since then, right? Like, at the end of the day, things were looking really promising in 2024 because obviously Trump was a pro-crypto candidate at the time, right? So when he got, officially put in as the president, there was a lot of optimism for what that would bring for crypto. There was also just the macro factors was very different. We didn't have this whole Iran war going on. So there's a lot of things that have changed since then, which, to be honest with you, it can impact how this goes. So is it a thing where I think that could happen? Well, yeah, it's possible, but I don't know whether you can just look at these charts from the past and say, yeah, this is going to happen again. I do see a lot of people say, it's going to follow the same trends, but I don't know, man. Like, because if we look at what happened with the last, if we want to call it a bull run, let's call it that, but there was no all season. So that was clearly different. So when people keep saying this time's different, you shouldn't be saying that. But it kind of was, right? Like it kind of was. So I don't know how this is going to pan out. So do I think it is possible? Yeah, absolutely. It is possible, but I don't know how probable it is. I hope for it. I really do. I will say this, it has happened in the past, not even just in 2024. In the 2017 bull run, it had the same thing. It had a massive drop, and then it went on its final push. So it is possible. I don't want to just completely deny that or anything. I don't want to be dismissive. But yeah, I guess we've just got to see how things go. But I covered it just because, I'm willing to show people's other thoughts, whether I agree with them or not. And it's just to show you guys what people are saying out there. I'm just giving you guys the general market sentiment. Okay, moving on from that, we then have, again, influencers just kind of, pushing the hype stuff. So somebody's going around saying, I think his name was Quaif or Zaif, something like that. Basically saying that DTCC are going to announce a partnership with XRP, right? And saying how obviously that's going to basically equate to the same kind of price move as XLM. Look, if you ask me, this is just influencers doing what influencers do. They're just trying to push onto the hype. They just want to try and get more followers and more engagement. There's nothing that's been confirmed about XRP working with the DTCC, unfortunately. I would love it to be the case. I hope it does happen, but there's nothing here at the moment that's, being, whispered or anything like that. This is just people just making content to try and get people, hyped up because they've seen the whole thing with XLM. And the one thing I will say, guys, and this is just me being honest, let's just say it does get announced that XRP will work with the DTCC as well, because it is possible. I'm not saying that it won't happen. I'm just saying that there's no evidence of this right now, and I do think people are just saying this for engagement as it stands right now, because there's no proof of it. if that was going to happen, I do question whether we'd get the same kind of pump. And the reason why I say that is because the whole thing that happened for XLM, it was kind of out of nowhere, right? It was unexpected, and XLM got its time for that. Like, if we hear now that XRP is also working with the DTCC, will it be as impactful? Because at the time, DTCC wasn't working with anyone. So then they officially announced, XLM is who we're going to work with. So will it have the same impact now when we know that they're already working with XLM anyway as well? Do you see what I mean? Like, I just don't know if it's going to have the same kind of impact anymore, to be honest with you. If it's going to have that same kind of, that same kind of bite. But yeah, the other thing I will say here is, like, people are saying that they're going to announce this stuff. Look, people are like making out like they're trying to keep this under wraps and stuff like that. If they were willing to announce it about XLM, why do you think that they would hide it about XRP? There's literally no reason why you would say, okay, we'll announce XLM, but we're not going to announce XRP. We're going to keep that under wraps. It just makes no sense. So, people who are trying to say that kind of stuff, it's like, just knock it off, man. Like, at the end of the day, if they're going to use XRP, they will just announce that they're going to use XRP. There's no reason for them to announce XLM but keep XRP a secret. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So, the guys who are trying to push that narrative, it's bogus, guys. There's nothing out there to say that. There's no reason why they would hide about XRP but tell XLM. Like, it just doesn't make any logical sense. So we'll see. Hopefully they will work with them, because they did say it would be a multi-chain. They would work multi-chain, but there's nothing at the moment to confirm that, basically. Okay, moving on. We then have QuickNode that has been released on Hedera. Okay, so QuickNode. This is basically a product that's it's basically for gasless transactions to the network, right? So this is kind of more for the developers at the moment, but it is something that can be rolled out to retail as well. It's a big thing, because what it does is it just removes the gas fees from the transaction. Now, the one thing I will say is, obviously the gas fees are so cheap anyway. It's almost free anyway, to be honest with you. But yeah, if you're talking about for ease of use, for a lot of people, having gasless, obviously it's great. Imagine just being able to say, hey, you can just use this network without any type of fees. But it is the sponsor who has to cover the fees. So obviously it does have to be paid by someone. So there probably will be a budget in that regard, because if you talk about it on a mass scale, it obviously can add up. But yeah, like, this is definitely something where if builders are like making products, and they could say, hey, like, for the first year or something, you don't pay any fees. Or maybe the sponsor, if they think that they're going to make more money in the long term, maybe they'll be more willing to just think, hey, we'll just take the hit, because we're going to make more money anyway through the business, right? Like, if they create a DApp and they say, okay, we want this DApp to be gasless, obviously they might think, well, if we do it gasless and, we cover the fees, if the DApp is really successful, the fact that it's gasless could be, a great incentive for people to use it, and then they make money elsewhere, and in the end they make more of a profit off of the back of it. So I think that could be the mentality there. So you never know, but definitely a great incentive there, in terms of, developers and also for retail users. We then have Assetto that has also been released on Hedera and Hashsphere. So Assetto is for institutional tokenization. Massive. This is something that obviously, when it comes down to it, when it's all said and done, you're going to want these types of products for institutions. This is the kind of stuff that's going to help for enterprises. It's going to be the thing that attracts them. Enterprise grade software, as they say, that kind of thing. It's an enterprise grade tool. At the end of the day, when we're talking about tokenization, if you're talking about institutional use, you want it to be of an institutional standard. So this product is basically, built in mind for institutions to have all the benefits of RWA tokenization. So I've covered it all in a video where I've gone a bit more in depth on that, so you can obviously listen to that if you want to know the full details. But again, if you're talking about wanting to attract the mainstream, that the big enterprises and the big institutions, this product is definitely going to be something that will basically put us in the right direction. Okay, finally, we've got Hedera just explaining why they're going to be attractive for enterprises and institutions once again, and this is in regards to MEV and front running. So basically, they was talking about like the things that can cause problems, and how a lot of public chains, they can't actually avoid front running. But the way Hedera was built, it's just something that naturally it cannot have front running on it. Like the things that it has in place, it just can't happen. So the things were no public mempool, no leaderless consensus, mathematically fair ordering, and deterministic timestamp logging. So these 4 things that the Hedera hash graph naturally has, organically has, are the reasons why front running just can't happen on Hedera. And it just rules out the MEV problem, the front running problem. There's a lot of public blockchains that don't have this. So basically, Hedera has something that many other public blockchains doesn't have. And so this is why I was saying in the video, when it comes to institutions, if they're looking for a network where, they want to, basically build and develop on a network that's secure, this is the kind of thing that you're talking about. Because when you're talking about institutions, you got to understand like things like counterparty risk, proof in terms of there's no like favoritism or anything like that. There's been no kind of like cash incentive, that kind of thing. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that they're going to be trying to avoid, right? Because these are the kind of things that can lead to fines and stuff like that. Like they can't risk that kind of stuff when it comes to institutions, right? They have to do it all by the book, because you got to understand they have to follow compliance, right? Banks and institutions can get fined, right? They have to follow policies and procedures that make sure they are abiding by the rules. So they couldn't come over to this technology if they didn't have these kind of things in place. So if you think about it, if all these other public blockchains have got these issues, but Hedera doesn't that make them one of the more attractive networks to build on or work with? It does, right? Of course. So again, I've already covered it in a video more in depth, so feel free to check that out. But very promising, very, very promising there. So good thing there that shows you why Hedera could definitely be one of the, the top picks when it comes to institutions and enterprises wanting to use a network. Okay guys, that's it. You're all up to speed. Once again, a lot of stuff going on. Great stuff. I know the market's not looking great right now. Again, I've covered it in a video in depth. At the end of the day, as I've said before, for me personally, I'm just hanging out here. I'm looking more towards the long term. Would I love crypto to take off now? Of course I would. But I don't get to choose that. So for me, I'm going to hang in there and see how things go. But I just feel like at the end of the day, at some point in the future, and I don't get to pick when, I do feel like, these assets are going to go up in value. I do think they're going to appreciate in value. So for me, I just have to wait for that. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter how long, it is. It doesn't mean that because I get frustrated, it's going to happen tomorrow. It happens when it happens. So that's just my mentality. But obviously, you guys are going to do what you think is best for yourselves. All right, I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for watching this. If you did like it, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe so you can be updated for future XRP and HBAR content. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you can be alerted on when I do drop a new video. Thank you very much for watching this, and I'll see you all on the next one.